Question. By Attorney Johnson. Okay. So then you are finished processing the car, and you are going to do the analysis of these stains. Is that right? Answer. Yes. Question. How do you do that? Answer. These stains that I recovered? Question. Right. Answer. I take each of the stains. I cut a small portion of the stain. I put it in a tube, and I do a procedure that basically extracts the DNA from the cells. I go through the process where I clean it up. And in the end, I end up with a vial with about 50 microliters of liquid that has nothing but DNA in it. Question. Okay. Answer. I take that DNA. I quantitate it, which means I try and find out how much DNA, what the concentration is of the DNA. Some samples have a lot of DNA. Some samples don't have very much. So I have to quantitate it to find out how much is in there. I then set up these samples to be amplified for DNA. In this type of DNA analysis, we're looking for specific fragments of DNA. These fragments have to be amplified, which I set them up for that process in the laboratory. Then I run them on an instrument that detects those fragments of DNA that we're looking for. When the data comes off of the instrument, what I get is a composite profile of DNA fragments that characterizes that particular strain. Question. Okay. So with the amplification, that's the PCR. Is that right? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. And then you do the process by which you look for the repeats. Is that right? The short-term tandem repeats? Answer. Yes. It's a PCR-based system, and the STRs are the fragments we're looking for. We use a commercially prepared kit that tags those fragments with a fluorescent dye, and then our instrumentation detects that dye, and that's how we get the actual size that comes out of the fragments. Question. Okay. And then that ultimately ends up, you look for, is it 13 different locations? Answer. There are 13 core loci. In our laboratory, we use a kit that is produced by Promega, which has, actually, 2 extra ones. There are no statistics associated with those extra ones, but we do the 13 core loci that the FBI requires, in addition to 2 extra ones. Question? Okay. So basically, when you talk about core loci, what you are talking about is 15 different points, 15 different locations, right? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. And then you are looking for what's at those particular locations? Answer. You are looking at fragments of different sizes. For instance, at a particular locus, say D5, I might be a 14-15. Someone else is a 15-16. So they have one fragment that's a bit bigger. Those fragments are determined. The difference in those fragments is determined by the size of them. Question. And this is all done by a computer, right? A machine? Answer. It's done by a 310 capillary electrophoresis instrument. Court reporter asked her to repeat her answer. Answer. 310 capillary electrophoresis instrument, and that detects the fragments as it goes through the instrument with the dyes attached to it, and that tells us what the size of those fragments are. Questions. Do you get like a printout then? Answer. Yes. Question. With some peaks on it? Answer. With peaks on it. Yes. Question. Okay. Answer. And those peaks represent the fragments. Question. Right. So like if you get a sort of a chart in one particular area, there's which represents a particular location on the DNA loci, or locus, basically, I guess, if you are talking about one, then you look for two peaks. If there is two, or if there's one and that's the 14, or the 15, or the 16, or whatever, answer, correct. Question, okay, and for each of these 13 loci, you will get a reading of however many peaks there are in that particular DNA sample. Answer, correct. Question, at that locus? Answer, correct. Question, and do you do the reading of that graph, that chart with the peaks? Answer, yes, I do. Question, okay, so you are the one who looks and says that the computer tells you. Answer, well, we actually have a computer program, but I actually analyze. Each analyst is responsible for looking at their own data and making those interpretations. Question, okay, so that's your call as to whether a particular peak actually represents the presence of an allele there versus some background noise and things like that sometimes get printed out as well. Answer, correct. Question, okay. And you go through this process for each of these 13 core loci that the FBI tells you to look at, right? Answer, correct. Question, and plus this particular commercially manufactured thing, this is the PowerPlex 16, is that right? Answer, yes. Question, it gives you two more. That's like Penta E and Penta D, or something like that, is that right? Answer, correct. Question, okay. And then, so you look for those additional loci as well? Answer, correct. Question, okay. And then you also look to see if there's a genetic marker for sex? Answer, yes. Question, okay. And you did that with the samples that you got, 4 of them, is that right? Answer, yes, from that item of evidence. Okay, and do you remember which 4? I believe it was A6, A8, A9, and A12. A6 was a stain from the driver's side front seat. A8 was a stain near the ignition. A9 was on the front seat in the passenger side. A12 was a stain that it was on the passenger side, between the front and back door, that metal panel. I don't know what you call it. It was on the passenger side, the metal piece that where the door closes. Question, okay, like the frame? Answer, yes. Question, okay. Answer, on the side of the frame. Question, okay. And that was on the side of the frame on the passenger? Answer, yes. Question, side in the rear? Answer, right. Question, is this a 4-door or a 2-door? Answer, 4-door. Question, 4-door. Do you ever do any other test with regard to whether or not it is blood? Answer, no, we do not. Question, now, you generate a DNA profile based on the presence of different alleles at these different loci, correct? Answer, yes. Question, okay. And then, did you compare that to the DNA data bank, Wisconsin's DNA data bank? Answer, originally, yes. Question, so that was the first thing you did? Answer, after I generated the profile, I requested a keyboard search through the Milwaukee data bank. Question, okay, why did you do that? Answer, because I was asked to do that. Question, by who? Answer, the police department. My initial testing indicated that it was a male individual. I did not have any samples from anyone, so we thought someone may be in there that matched. So we did a keyboard search. I think between myself and the DCI agents, and I don't remember who, we had a discussion and it was decided that we would do it. Question. Okay. How broad a keyboard search did you do? Answer. I did not actually do it. Dan Haas did it, who is in charge of the data bank over in Milwaukee. I sent him the profile that I developed from these stains. And he searched all the state convicted offender database. Question. Okay. But did you do a search? Do you know if he did a keyboard search just based on the specific alleles at each one of those different loci? Or did he do a broader search whereby he would put in more than those 2 alleles for each loci? Do you know what I'm asking you? Answer. No, you would just attorney-crats. Judge, I'm going to object. Whatever he's asking is well beyond a preliminary hearing. The court. The objection is sustained. It's discovery. Question by Attorney Johnson. Now, with regard to the key, when did you get the key? Answer. I believe it was on the 8th. Let me check my notes to make sure. Question. You are using your notes there to refresh your recollection, is that correct? Answer. Yes, I am. Question. Can we approach? The court. Yes. Sidebar taken. Question by Attorney Johnson. Does that refresh your recollection as to when you got the key? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. When did you get it? Answer. November 8th. Question. Okay. And how did it come to you? Answer. It came into the laboratory from a DCI agent, Matthew Joy. Question. How was it packaged? Answer. In a brown paper bag. Question. Okay. Answer. With evidence tape. I opened it up and then... Question. I'm sorry. Where was this taking place? In your office? Answer. No, in the garage. Question. In the garage? Answer. Yes. Question. Same garage? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. And is there like a table or something that's set up to do this kind of thing? Answer. No, I believe it was taken in by an evidence specialist and then it was brought down to me because they wanted it swabbed before it could be tested on the car to see if it would turn the ignition. Question. Okay. Answer. So they gave it to me. I had gloves on. I opened the package. I swabbed the area, the black part of the key that does the crank, with a cotton swab. There was no visible staining on it. That's when I took the key and put it in the ignition and tested the lock on the door. Question. Okay, so you swabbed the black part. Is that the only part you swabbed? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. And then what do you do with that swab? Answer. That was also laid out in my workspace to air dry. Question. Okay. I assume that's the one swab there at this time? Answer. Yes, this was the next day. Question. Okay. What is the procedure? Is this the same workspace that you used in this garage all the time, or was this sort of a temporary setup? Answer. It was a temporary setup. It's not my workspace that I use all the time. It's just an area set up for processing cars. Question. Okay, and it was brought to you there because the car was still there and you expected to eventually try the key on the car. Is that the idea? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. And this was, what's the procedure for dealing with that workspace in between the time you examine the car and the time you examine the key? Answer. Well, it's used by multiple people. Whoever needs the space to work on the car. Before I start working on it, I clean it down with bleach and put down white paper. Question. okay. And what about the little Q-tip holder? Answer, that's also cleaned down with bleach at my desk. Question, you do that personally? Answer, yes. Question, okay, and so you do that every day at the end of the day, or how do you do that? Answer, we do it several times a day, depending on what kind of evidence we have out, what we're working on. We clean our pipettes, we clean our workbench, we clean our forceps, our everything numerous times. Question, okay, do you know how many times this was cleaned? Answer, no, I don't. Question, in between the car and the key, you don't know? Answer, no, I don't know how many times. It was cleaned because I always clean it every time I use it. Question, okay. You clean it right at the beginning of processing any piece of evidence? Answer, yes, I do. Question, okay. And so then you swab this air dries, and then what do you do with the key? Answer, then I put it back into the paper container, and I believe I retained custody of it. Question, were you the person that tried it in the ignition then too? Answer, yes. Question, okay, and you did that right after you swabbed it? Answer, yes. Question, right immediately? Answer, as soon as I was done swabbing it, I tried it in the car. Question, okay, and you tried it in the ignition, and you said also in the door. Is that right? Answer, yes. I locked the door and it opened the door. And it opened the lock. Question, okay. And then you turned the ignition and it turned over? Answer, actually it didn't turn over because I believe it didn't crank. I believe the battery was disconnected. Question, oh. Answer, but it turned completely over. It just didn't crank the engine. Question, okay. And then when you do get the samples from Mr. Kratz referred to them as the intimate samples, when do you get those things? Answer, the buccal swabs? Question, right. Answer, the standard samples? Question, right. Answer, I will have to check my notes and evidence. Question, go ahead. Answer, there were 3 buccal swabs that were submitted, and they were all 3 submitted on the 11th of November. Question, okay, and who were those from? Answer, Alan Avery, Brian Dassey, and Stephen Avery. Question, okay, those are the 3 that you got? Answer, buccal swabs, yes. Question, okay, and you generated profiles off of those 3? Answer, yes, I did. Question, okay, and that's the same process that you did with generating the profile from the stains in the car? Answer, yes. Question, and how did those swabs come to you? Answer, how are they packaged? Question, right, how did you get them? Answer, they came into the laboratory, the court. I'm going to impose my own objection here. Again, this goes to discovery. Attorney Johnson, okay. Question by Attorney Johnson. Now, the partial profile that you received from the charred materials, when did you receive these? Answer, the 11th as well. Question, okay. And you generated a partial profile. That's because there was only enough DNA material to find 7 out of the 13 loci. Is that the idea there? Answer, no. I suspect in this case it was because the DNA was degraded. Question, okay. Answer, it was not a very good sample for DNA. Question, okay. And so what does that do to it? Answer, when you look at a DNA profile, as you are, the larger, when a DNA sample, When DNA begins to degrade, the larger fragments will begin to break up and we don't detect them. So when you look at a sample where the smaller fragments are detected, which was the case in this particular instance, if it's a degraded sample, you usually see the larger fragments drop out. So I only got fragments at 7 loci instead of 13. Question. Okay. So those fragments that you got on the 7 loci would have been larger fragments? Answer. Smaller fragments. Question. Smaller fragments. The larger ones would drop out? Answer. Yes. Question. Okay. The loci would be present. You just wouldn't see any peaks in those particular places. Do I have that right? Answer. Well, the loci basically just refers to a location. Question. Right. Answer. The peaks are the actual fragments that are there. But anytime a biological sample starts to, such as DNA, starts to degrade and break up, it basically just breaks apart. And so the DNA at those places are beginning to break apart. Question. So what? Are there no peaks at? Answer. Nothing. Question. Those loci? Answer. Right. There's nothing. Question. Nothing. Answer. Nothing. Question. On the printout, there's just nothing there? Answer. Correct. Question. Okay. Using those at those 7 different loci, did you get 2 alleles at each one? Do you know? Attorney Kratz. Objection. Discovery judge. The court sustained. Question by Attorney Johnson. How do you come up with the calculation of 1 in a billion in the Caucasian population? Answer. We use the FBI's databank, and basically each one of these fragments are inherited independently of each other. So we can multiply the frequencies of each one of these fragments, how frequent, how common, or how rare that particular fragment is in the population. So by combining those numbers, by multiplying the frequencies of the fragments of the alleles that I did get, and comparing that to the FBI's database, the frequency is 1 in a billion in a Caucasian and the other numbers that I stated. Question. At any particular loci, you will get 2 alleles, correct? Answer. If that person is a heterozygote, yes. Question. Okay, what does that mean? Answer. It means they inherit. You always inherit half of your DNA from your mother and half from your father. If you are a heterozygote, you inherit a different fragment of DNA from your mother and a different fragment from your father. If you are a homozygote, then you inherit the same one from each parent. Question. Okay. Question. So, then you would have 2 14s at the same locus? Answer. You would only have 1 peak. Question. Okay. Answer. And it would be 14. Question. Okay. Answer. So that person is homozygote. Question. Okay. If the DNA is not degraded, it doesn't take much to get a profile. Is that right? Answer. Correct. Question. How much? Answer. When we amplify the DNA, we usually shoot for around 1 nanogram. Question. And how much is that? Answer. I don't recall exactly. Question. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I may have asked this. I'm not sure. When you process the vehicle, you wear a lab coat, is that right? Answer. Yes. Question. Gloves? Answer. Yes. Question. And safety glasses? Answer. Yes. Question. And you wear a face mask? Answer. No, I didn't. Question. Other people there wearing face masks? Answer. No. Question. Okay. Other people there wearing gloves? Answer. Yes, everybody wears gloves. Question. Okay, and any other protective clothing? Answer: I don't recall what the other people were wearing. Question: Okay, but you yourself, no other protective clothing? Nothing like on your feet, anything like that? Answer: No, I didn't have anything like that on. Question: Okay, and you wear gloves throughout the entire process? Answer: Yes. Attorney Johnson: That's all the questions I have, thank you. The court: Any redirect? Attorney Kratz: No, Judge. The court: All right, the witness is excused. Attorney Kratz: We will move the admission of Exhibits 12, 13, 14, and 15 at this time. The court: All right. The court: Is there any objection to 12, 13, 14, and 15? I believe 12 and 13 are photos, and 14 and 15 are lab results. Attorney Loy: No objection for purposes of this hearing. The court: All right, those exhibits are admitted. Attorney Kratz: Your Honor, the last piece of evidence that's being offered, and is by stipulation, is exhibit number 16, which is a certified copy of a death certificate for that of Teresa M. Halbach, having date of birth March 22, 1980. That death certificate was filed by Mike Glazer, Calumet County Medical Examiner. It was filed in the Manitowoc County Register of Deeds office today, and the designation of cause of death is that of a homicide. I will provide the court with Plaintiff's Exhibit 16 at this time. The court: Any objection to Exhibit 16? Attorney Loy: Not for purposes of this hearing. The court: All right, Exhibit 16 is received. Is there anything further from the state? Attorney Kratz: State rests, Your Honor. The court: Is there any evidence to be offered from the defense? Attorney Loy: No, Your Honor. The court: Do either party wish to make argument with respect to either of these cases? Attorney Kratz: I do not, Judge. I'm going to move the court for bindover, asking the court, with the evidence and the reasonable inferences, to find probable cause that a felony has been committed, that the defendant probably committed that felony, and bind him over for trial. The court: Mr. Loy or Mr. Johnson? Attorney Loy: Your Honor, we'll simply move to dismiss, for the record. The court: All right. Based on the evidence presented, the court is going to determine that there's probable cause to believe that a felony has been committed in each of these cases. That is 05 CF 375 and 05 CF 381. The court will schedule these matters for an arraignment. I will ask the clerk to get me my calendar. Counsel: I know there is a bail reduction motion as well. We have run out of time to hear it today. I can hear it at the same time as the arraignment, if the parties wish. Attorney Kratz: That's fine, Judge. The court: Mr. Loy? Attorney Loy: Your Honor, I could try to be very brief with my bail motion. The court: I'm not. I said 5 o'clock was the deadline today. We stretched that a bit already. Attorney Loy: I appreciate that, Your Honor. That's fine. Attorney Kratz: If I may, Judge, and I understand that the court had anticipated this, the state is going to file with the court at this time a 3-count criminal information in case number 05 CF 381. We are merging the 3 counts from the 2 different complaints into one information. It was contemplated that Mr. Loy would ask for a separate arraignment date, and we obviously have no objection to that. Attorney Loy: We have been served with a copy of the information, Your Honor. We would ask for an arraignment at a later date. The court: All right, well, the choices are as follows. Next week I have some civil trials scheduled. I do not know the status. There's also some criminal trials, actually. The calendar is thinning out a bit, but I have no days that are open at this time. So if you want to take a contingent date next week, I can look at that. Otherwise, we're looking into January. I can give you, how about 3 o'clock on Monday, January 9th? Attorney Kratz: I'm actually in a jury trial that afternoon. Did the court have something, did you say next week, Tuesday or Wednesday? The court: well, what I said is, at this time, I have got trials scheduled next week. I have got 2 trials scheduled for Tuesday and 1 for Wednesday. Attorney Loy: Your Honor, actually, we would prefer a January date because there are some things we need to do. The court: all right. How about 3 o'clock on Thursday the 12th? Attorney Kratz: I'm sorry, Judge, I'm unavailable then as well. The entire next week I am available, as well as the week of the 23rd. The court: all right, how about 9 o'clock on the 17th? Attorney Kratz: that would be fine. Attorney Loy: that's fine with us. The court: works fine with both parties. Very well, that would be for the arraignment and bail reduction hearing. Attorney Kratz: just so the parties, should we anticipate bringing our calendars to schedule future matters at that time as well, Your Honor? The court: that would probably be advisable. Attorney Kratz: thank you, Judge. Attorney Loy: thank you, Your Honor. The court: January 17th. We are done for today. Proceedings concluded.